Cool.
Rock
We're
and
good.
roll.
Hello, words. Wow, I can add to that. Hello,
It's been
everyone,
a
and
while.
welcome. Yeah, it's been a while since been on like a podcast setup or just talking to a camera. But welcome. I'm Jack Fleming with Social Remarketing, and this is Matthew Coleman. I'll let you introduce yourself. No one's really technically hosting the setup that we got going on. We just wanted to chit chat about franchise marketing in general, and yeah, Matthew, tell us a little bit about what you do with your CMO and at Cap Three.
Yeah, absolutely. And just thanks and shout out to Jack for putting all this together. Matthew Coleman, Cap Three. I'm a fractional CMO and marketing consultant, and I work with clients who sometimes have an in-house team, but are kind of missing that strategy piece. And other clients don't have the in-house team, and I help them build that out. Sometimes through whether that's freelancers or contract workers, but helping people lay out, thinking about their marketing from a strategic standpoint rather than just purely tactical, which is pretty cool. In you know around the conversation that we were talking about having today, you and I have talked about how franchises a lot of times get these marketing kits from the corporate office, and sometimes they're very tactics heavy, they're very tactical, they're very rubber stamp types of stuff, and I think that we share kind of a similar, I'm going to say, kind of a similar feeling about how those kinds of things play out on the local level.
Yeah, and to put it, because I didn't introduce myself either, a little rusty, rusty here. But I said my business name, but we do a lot of social media marketing and content marketing for small businesses locally in Wilmington. And so that's how we saw the graphics, we saw the photos, the stuff that some franchises were posting, and I was just like, I don't know, I'm trying to make a whole separate entity and do this professionally and just help franchises, or do it under my company, or this is kind of just the start as we're just chit chatting about it. But yeah, so we'll see. We don't know where this is going to go. We don't know how long this is going to take.
Right.
But
No,
we're just going to talk off the cuff, and so it should be good.
This is quite literally a conversation that Jack and I have had at every networking event we've been at for the last 5 or 6 months, and we were like, hey, we should really get this down. But I think I would like to kick it to you first, because I think you bring up a good point. One of the first places that this corporate franchise marketing model really starts to show its warts is on the social level. So the stuff that people are putting out there around stock photos, and what are some of the red flags that you see, and why is that an issue?
Yeah, to put in a context first, I think we should say that we know that franchises are owned and operated in different capacities, and with different accessibilities, and some franchise owners get lots of access to brand kits and content, and some don't. Some have to really adhere to certain policies, some don't. And so there are a lot of variables that come into place when talking about this. But this is just based off what we've seen, and it could relate to some people and it might not. There's a lot of variables that come into play too.
And I think we're probably starting about the middle. I think maybe we should wind it back just a little bit and explain kind of what it is that we're talking about, rather than jumping into the examples. One of the challenges. So franchises present a lot of good opportunities for people. So it's a business model that a person can purchase either royalties or rights to, and then implement that business model that's been proven successful over and over and over again. And then they have the backing of a corporate office or a franchise office to whether that's business service support, back-end support, marketing support, all of those kinds of things. I think that one of the kind of what has inspired all this, and one of the things that presents a challenge, is a lot of times the again, we're in marketing, so this is the piece that I see more than anything else, is that the marketing does not have any kind of local flair, especially for, you think about local service businesses or local restaurants or local, locally owned franchises that really count on the community to support their business. But the marketing is way off. Like the brand is way off because it just doesn't have that local flair. So is that kind of a good description of what it is that we're even talking about right now?
Yes, I really don't help a lot of franchises in town.
Mm-hmm.
I've kind of started to help one a little bit, um, but I'm not like super heavy in the space. And so, could you kind of give the context of franchise ownership a little bit? Um, but again, this is just kind of what we've seen out there,
Mm-hmm.
and because I'm in the content space, I'm gonna refer to Gary V too, and a lot of the content we've been seeing. You mentioned stock photography, and
Mm-hmm.
a lot of it has just been kind of, I want to say, vanilla, and it's just no local flair to it.
Right.
It's it's some whatever person sitting at a desk doing something, and it just not relate to people in Wilmington at the beach whatsoever.
Right.
Um, and so we think as marketers that they should have the capacity to be able to create this kind of localized content at scale for their franchises and franchise owners. But maybe if someone's sitting at the franchise headquarters in Charlotte, they don't have the capacity to do that. I don't know. It comes down to them at that point. They should, if they have the big bucks like most franchises do, they should be able to produce more higher quality content. And it honestly, at some point, it just looks like an ad too. Like they spruce it up so much with logos and URLs and overlays and whatnot that when people see it, it's just going to look like it's a paid ad.
Yeah, and so I have done work with franchises, and one of the challenges for the local business owner is a lot of times the restrictions, the guidelines that you have to adhere to are they're very rigid, especially so and we're not talking about like brand colors or anything like that. You actually want the brand colors. You want the brand recognition. That's why you bought the franchise in the first place. But you bring up a good point in that it's just not relatable to the local community. So what good is it to have pictures of skyscrapers in Wilmington? There's not a skyscraper within 200 miles of Wilmington. So why aren't there pictures of the beach? And I guess one of my frustrations is if I was a business owner, I would reach out to my franchise office, my corporate office, and find out what my abilities are. Because in some cases, I have worked with, and I'm working with one right now that has the ability to change things up and localize, especially the imaging, localize the imaging, use examples. It's a home services business, so they're able to use pictures of the work that they do here, which is super important, before and after type stuff.
Mm-hmm.
My first suggestion to people would be to reach out to the franchise office and find out where those boundaries are, what you are allowed to customize and what you're not, so that you definitely wouldn't want to just start doing this stuff and then find out that you're violating, the guidelines that you signed up for, because that can be it could be a big headache, and you can run into a lot of trouble with that kind of thing. But while there are some that are absolutely no, it's all corporate marketing or nothing. For the most part, I have seen that a lot of people have the ability to do some local stuff, especially with regard to social media. If they're running a local, like a Wilmington page, like, franchise X Wilmington location kind of thing, they have a lot of flexibility with what they're doing there, but they still insist on running the stock photography. They still insist on running nothing about the owners, nothing about what's going on at the local store, which to me is just kind of frustrating. It's a missed opportunity.
Mm-hmm. I think Chick-fil-A has some ability to make some more content off of local people, just because we've had local influencers who have become popular on social media from local Chick-fil-A chains.
That's a great example.
But yeah, I mean they're just so kind of stuck with what they can do. And I'm not saying that the franchise owners are marketer by any means. And I'm not saying that they're going to go out and try to do random trend TikTok dances and try to relate it to their business. But just in general, like for an example, again, you mentioned skyscrapers. I was thinking like someone hiking in the mountains. It's just like that's not going to resonate with someone at the beach whatsoever. Like I would rather make a video or a picture of someone on the boat or them stubbing their toe on an oyster bed, because that relates more to what they do than the person hiking in the mountains.
Yeah, and the social experience is one of those. The other places that shows up in a big way is on the website. So one of the things that is supposed to happen on a website is when somebody lands there, they're supposed to feel like they're in the right place, right? So, and you have, what is it? I mean, I think we're down to like a 2.5 second attention span these days. You really don't. So if you've got somebody hiking through the mountains, people are going to be like, oh, that's not, I'm in the wrong place. This isn't relevant to me. That's what their subconscious is telling them anyway.
Yeah, or especially they'll go to like the corporate page and they'll have to select the location, or they'll have to go to the map to select the location.
Right.
And it's just kind of bulky. They'd have to take that extra time, and it's simply time that you don't have to, if somebody needs you now, and there's this window of when they want to be sold, basically.
Yeah.
It's like you want to capture them as soon as you can.
And so at Cap3, we call that reducing the friction. So you want to eliminate as many steps as you can, like you say, going to a corporate site and having to scroll down till you find Wilmington or Charlotte or Raleigh or whatever, Myrtle Beach, whatever the market is. Those are every step represents a point of friction, and you want that process to be nice and smooth. Fortunately, the company that I'm working with has direct to local sites. So there is a corporate site that has listings, but they also have their they have the ability to build their own website. So that has been a significant advantage as far as I'm concerned. The problem is that the site that they originally had, we've done an upfit and a redo on it, but the site that they originally had was very dated. That's another thing that I have a problem with a lot of this stuff is a lot of times the things that are handed down, and this doesn't go for everybody all the time, but a lot of what you do see is that some of the corporate stuff can be very dated. It can be just not, I would just expect sometimes that the stuff would be much more modern, much more mobile friendly, much just easier to use.
ADA compliant now.
Yeah, exactly.
Like these bento boxes are pretty popular in the web trends, and the curved edges and squares and rectangles and all. Lottie files.
They tend not to be as on, I won't call it trend, but not with the more industry standard, the evolution of websites. Basically, they always seem to be one iteration behind.
I wonder what, like, from, let's say, the size of like a Bojangles, I don't know, because I mentioned Charlotte earlier. I mean, I guess it would be a pretty hefty expense to kind of redo a whole website to even upfit it just that much. But I mean, again, I think they have the capacity to do it. It's just they might be focusing on so many other things that maybe they're not. And
yeah,
I don't know.
and I mean, you hit on a good point there, because there is a lot going on the higher up you get in the level, but I think that there's a couple easy wins. So maybe like templated packages that businesses can get that have options, right? So I'm not saying one for every single city, but if the franchise offers you, you can at least get something that's closer to what you do. It's not one template for the entire country, which is the thing that's incredibly frustrating. Yeah. And again, some franchises do this really well, and some of them not so well. But that would be one of those things. If I'm a business owner and I'm trying to localize my brand and I'm trying to connect with my community, which is what this is really all about, so that people, even though I'm a franchise, they still view me as a part of the community. I would lean into my franchise office and say, hey, what are my options around these print materials? What are my options around this website template? What are my options around uniforms, imaging, all of those kinds of things? I think that a lot of times you can find that if you ask, there are things out there that you just hadn't researched before. And the big thing with the client that I'm working with is they'd never asked the question. It's like, can we redo our website, or do we have to stay with this? And they're like, yeah, do your website. That's just the template we give people when they start, because usually they don't have anything.
Wow.
So that's also, there's opportunities to do this kind of thing. So I guess one of the things that I would hope a local person or a local franchise operator would take away is, you might have more options than you think you do. Just because this is the template that they provided you with does not necessarily mean that that's the only option that you have.
Mm-hmm. And I kind of want to know too, like, I keep bumping back to social media
Mm-hmm.
because that's really all I was wanting to talk about. But I mean, that's mainly just where I've seen the ads. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, of course, you can drive around and see billboards too, but just like knowing and staying up to date with these community insights and intelligence, like knowing, let's say in Wilmington, that it could resonate better that you integrate more teal, gold, and navy into your brand marketing because those are UNCW colors, or
Mm-hmm.
you maybe use more terminology towards soaring, flight, bird related things because that's also UNCW related, or the beach, or somehow you know that our bridge was out of commission for like 4 months, and so you can be flexible enough to somehow move advertising to hit that traffic that
Right.
really hurt a lot of people. But it's just staying up to date enough with this community intelligence, and maybe it's these smaller franchise owners having to hire out to these local agencies to do things. Maybe they have to trust the capacity of the bigger franchise marketing teams. There are tons of possibilities.
Yeah, I think another one that is, that I have seen done really well is community involvement. So getting away from advertising in the traditional sense altogether and getting out and, sponsoring stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So, being a part of, sponsor the local T-ball team, do a school fundraiser, your local Kiwanis club, or whatever. Because if you are using social media, it's called social media. If you're using it to promote things that you're out doing, if you're using it to promote, like you said, the bridge traffic is a great example. That's what's actually happening in the community. So that's another thing too, is, the going back to this client, they thought that the franchise was operating the social media feed, but they thought that that's all they could do. They were
Mm-hmm.
like, no, you can, we're only doing this like on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. We put this one post out that drives people to a blog. And we're like, so we can post pictures of work, and we can post pictures of, we won this award, this local, viewers choice award type thing. We can post that kind of stuff. They're like, yeah, you can post. It's your Facebook page. You can pretty much post
Mm-hmm.
what you want to. So you come back to using the local flair again. Not, imaging is one thing. Yes, that's what kind of where we started the conversation. But also, what's the company involved in? What are the people involved in? What are the employees passionate about? Are there things that you can, company culture? My company went out not too long ago. We did a pizza making class.
I
Right?
saw this post.
That's right. That's right. It was a blast. And one of the things that I love about stuff like that is, and you probably see this, Jack, more than anybody else. You post all this stuff about the business, and it's like, okay. You post a couple pictures of people doing goofy stuff around the office, engagement just soars.
Yeah.
Right. So that's the stuff that really has a huge impact. So again, coming back to finding out what kind of flexibility you do have with those kinds of things goes a long way towards, it's about humanizing the brand, humanizing
That's
the brand,
the word I was
and
going to use.
getting back and I, again, if your business serves the community or your business relies on the community, you have got to connect with the community. And I think that's the thing that frustrates me more than anything else, is that's the piece that people are missing.
And I mean, I've seen definitely big franchises too, like at events, like let's say at the Azalea Fest, you'll see them tabling and all, but it's still like, as a consumer, that they're a big company too, and let's say like you don't even use them, how can maybe even at an event like that where you're tabling, what's a way that maybe that they can even relate to local community too? Let's say like T-Mobile had some big truck that was jamming music and had some dance party going on during Azalea Fest. Like, how can they relate more to Wilmington other than just being there, or is that what they just have to do? Just be the face and the face and
Yeah, I think that there's a space for that kind of thing, because that would be, I mean, that's on brand for T-Mobile though, is to be kind of the party brands, the the Magenta brand and all that stuff, and their commercials really relay that. So, but again, coming back to the community side of things is, how would a telecommunications company relate to the community? Maybe they have a program where they do the for what is it when you turn in your phone, like the trade-ins, right? They have a program where the the low-end trade-ins are doled out as not donations, but where they get to people who couldn't otherwise afford phones, right? They go into some of those programs, and then you highlight that. Or if I'm on site at an event and I'm doing event marketing, I look for some kind of way that I can draw people in for something that's related to the brand, right? Or something that's gonna. So I do like the dance party idea. It reminds me of a guy who had a booth one time that had some Star Wars stuff going on, and that was the busiest booth I ever had. But you think about too, like something that is close to your brand that somebody needs. So if you're a home services business and you can put together a 10-page DIY on what it is that you do, people will come and get that. They'll want that. And then they're going to reach a point at which the DIY doesn't work for them, and then they need somebody to finish the job, and you're the person that they call, right?
I'm an advocate for social media ads that do that, that do the DIY.
Oh, absolutely.
Free ebooks to get people's info.
Absolutely.
But I do think giveaways, especially in person too, are very. I know that the NC Lottery has some giveaway that they always do. I mean, it's the gist of their business. But
That's right. That's right.
But
as long as it's more than frisbees and koozies, right?
It was that. That was it. It was t-shirts, and I got like an insulated bag. Is what I won. But yeah, there are different aspects. I mean, websites, social media. I mean, you kind of mentioned some a little bit earlier. What are some maybe reassurances that you can give franchise owners, or what are some maybe tips and tricks that we can maybe even like end the conversation on giving them? I feel like getting ahead of the game and planning things out is really important, just because if you're going to have to send content, even if it's custom content, to the bigger franchise teams to get it approved. It's just you have to plan a little bit further out. It's going to be a little bit less current than like an Oreo at the Super Bowl with the lights out, or Coors Light when Shohei hit the home run and they did that. Like, you don't maybe have that flexibility to be that current if you're a local franchise owner, but just planning ahead, like really far ahead, I think that's a good tip.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the one thing I would like to leave people with more than anything else is to reach out to the franchise company and ask kind of what the limitations are, because again, I think a lot of people just assume that since this is what I got, that this is what I have to use, and that's not always the case. You might have more flexibility than you think to do the kinds of things that you want to, and if you don't, I think that you can, like, say I own a Subway, right? Subways are franchises that are locally owned and operated in many cases. What about videos where I talk about how the sandwich is made? Where I talk about what the ingredients are in the sandwich. If I'm the franchise owner, I'm still talking about Subway. I'm in the Subway uniform. I got the Subway sign in the back. All the stuff is corporate. But now you see my face, and now we've got a face. We've got a name, telling you where the location is. I'm reassuring you that I'm one of you. I'm a local boy too. But if you can't adjust the imaging, if you can't adjust the messaging of the franchise, then make it your own. And if you are the kind of person who is, let's say you're the kind of person who is thinking about getting into the franchise game, this to me is one of those things that would be high up on my radar as far as researching before I bought into this franchise or that franchise, is what the marketing strategy and what the branding plan really is.
I've seen that actually a lot more than you think on social media, is these people who are almost like documenting their corporate jobs. I mean, that goes in corporate America a little bit, but there's these operators at like a Subway or these places. Or I've seen one like recently. It's this girl at Dunkin', and she's just videoing the orders that people are getting out, the ridiculous orders that people are getting at Dunkin' that are like 20 squirts of caramel and 10 sugar packs, and they're making these Dunkin' drinks, and it's insane because of obviously the orders are insane, but these individual people within the franchises are making these videos of just the daily lives of working with them and the quirks and whatnot, and they're doing really well because people are seeing a face behind a brand. You know, it's not just this big overlapping umbrella that's the brand itself or whatever mascot. It's the local people that are really making an impact, and that's what people want to see.
And you think about too, what's the benefit of that is you do that video, you put that out there with the 20 pumps of caramel, and what does a viewer say? Well, I'm going to go there and I'm going to order 25 pumps of caramel with 5 pumps of chocolate because I want my crazy order to show up on the video next.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely, like, there is a point to where it can hurt the brand, and maybe it's just I do think it probably needs some follow-up conversation between like a bigger franchise team and if someone is making those kinds of videos within the franchise itself or from the managerial side. But I don't think it's going to hurt the brand if it's, let's say that's with Dunkin', because that doesn't seem like, because they're just doing their daily task, and it's not showcasing like poor OSHA quality stuff or poor work environment or anything. It's just, and she's not even getting her face in it. It's actually just like the cup.
Yeah.
And then pumping things in. And
well, I think that one of the things that makes that work too is that it's fun and playful, right? I mean, and that's kind of, I think, you know, what you're saying is as long as you keep it light and you can keep it friendly and it doesn't disparage the company in any way, because I mean, who would want to do that anyway? But I know too that a lot of times, you know, you think about co-op from franchises when they pay for advertising, if you meet certain brand standards, all that stuff has to be approved. If you ever do anything and you ever do have a question about it, you know, send it up the river and see what they have to say. The corporate office will tell you whether it meets a brand standard or not. And I would definitely, if you do decide to go this route where you're going to localize material and you're going to personalize material, you definitely want to let them know that this is happening ahead of time. I would not let it turn into a social media sensation without the corporate office knowing what's going on. Because even if it's playful and even if it's fun and it just kills and it's the trend and it totally goes viral, if they consider it off brand, it's not going to be pretty. So I would definitely.
I don't foresee, but even then, like the videos that we're seeing like this on social media, they're not marketers. They're just these employees of a franchise who start to make a video and it goes viral, and then they just keep it up. So maybe they just have to hear this and know that they should talk with their manager more.
Well, this would be more along the lines of the intentional stuff. Like if I was to go and say, all right, I own a car wash, and it's a franchise car wash, but I own one of the units, and I want to do a dirtiest car competition or something like that, or I want to talk about the time somebody went in backwards, or the time Jackass did a thing one time where was it Steve-O was on the hood of the car. Anyway, don't do that. But that's the kind of thing I would say, I think that this would be a good idea. I think that would play well with, people who follow us. Let me just touch base with my franchise team and let them know what I'm doing. And maybe they get on board with that and they actually pump it out to the corporate page. So I think that there's a lot of benefits that go with, you're not asking for permission as much as you're just kind of giving them the heads up that something's going to happen. That way they're not blindsided by it. I think the thing that really people run into from a corporate standpoint where the corporate office wants to shut down something like that is they get blindsided and they don't know how to deal with it. So just kind of advance notice. And then because it's, you're not really asking for permission. Is it okay if I do this? Because usually your rep will just say, no, nobody's ever done that before. We don't want to do anything like that. You just say, hey, here's what we're planning on doing. Just want to let you know. And keep an eye out on our Facebook page. This is coming soon.
Yeah. Are there any other notable, I guess, campaigns that you've seen that you've liked from a franchise side lately, or maybe even anything in the future that you think franchises? I mean, obviously you said they should update their websites.
Yeah.
But is there anything like in the near future that you think is going to happen in this space? I mean, just knowing your experience in marketing, let's say my experience in social media, obviously like humanizing brands, personalizing them. People want to see the face behind the brand. That's pretty popular. Content is slowing down, so it's more docu-style vlogs.
Mm-hmm.
That's huge. I mean, I asked two questions in one.
No, it's
The future of franchise marketing and any notable kind of campaigns that you've seen.
I wouldn't say there's anything that I have seen recently that really set the world on fire for me. But one of the things that I think is something that people should really think about how they can take advantage of is the selfie video. So you think about TikTok, you think about Instagram Reels, and maybe not necessarily trying to be an influencer, but I'm telling you, man, when the difference between the engagement that a product picture gets versus the engagement that a video of somebody holding that product gets is it is 1,000x.
Like a toned down quality, almost like unboxing video.
Yeah.
Of your Chicken Supremes box from Bojangles.
That's right. and you do a say fast food is actually a really good example because they do this kind of thing. But say you're the franchise operator and you want to take somebody through the ordering process because you want to show them how good it is, and you're filming yourself ordering from the person, you're filming yourself making your drink, and then you're filming yourself getting your bag, and you take it out and you look at all the food and it all looks great and you're happy, the staff's happy, everybody's smiling, it's a good time. That just presents an atmosphere of an experience that someone can expect to have when they come into your restaurant, right? Mm-hmm. So I think that these so video is king. I think that the selfie video is like the Lord King, right? Mm-hmm. Like the what if there's something above the king, this is what it is, or what makes a really good.
It's humanizing things.
Yes,
face
right.
behind the brand, vlog, kind of slower down content. It's not this like fast. The TikTokification made everything really fast, and now everyone's slowing down again. But it's checking those boxes. Continue. Yeah, sorry.
Well, no, I mean you're 100% right because I think again, I come back to this all the time. Is smiling faces is what wins in marketing, right? So people love to see other people smiling, and so that they can envision themselves in that thing, in doing that thing. That's why I think explainer videos are so good. Mm-hmm. I think that these selfie videos are so good. That's why influencers even exist, right? Is because they're talking into the camera and telling people why this thing is great, or why they like this thing, and why they should go out and get it too. I think if you're a franchise operator, the reason that you bought the franchise, what the product or the service is, how it can change somebody's life, how you do it, and how you do it really well. I think that all those things make for great content that is just not stock. It's just not the kinds of very simple stuff that again does not appeal to the local community in a way that being able to express something yourself can.
Mm-hmm. I definitely think brands need to know that people can almost see stock and know it's fake, almost.
Yeah,
they
absolutely.
need to have it in mind that when they're producing this content, is that if it looks like an ad, it smells like an ad, people inherently don't want to see ads. That's why, as marketers, we've been constantly trying to recreate things like this. You just see low quality video. That's why it's doing so well, is because it genuinely does not look like an ad.
That's right. The guerrilla style video where, I mean, you see the arm and everything. Mm-hmm. Holding
their pinky is literally in the video.
That's right. You're covering the camera. I mean, you're right, because I think through, like, you look at your Facebook feed, right, for folks to do that, or Instagram feed or whatever, like almost every advertisement now is some kind of video. It's got some kind of pop in. It's got the first second and a half has some kind of pop in, and then it's a video. Very rarely do you find many successful static image ads anymore. At least that's what I'm seeing right now.
Videos, GIFs, unless it's like a graphic with like a sale, you can't do a cold ad that's just a photo.
Yeah. I think one of the things that, I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if someday that YouTube thumbnails go to some kind of GIF format where...
like a TikTok.
Yeah, exactly. So that you're seeing something move, which is really ironic that it isn't now. I mean, now
They
it's
do
all
a little bit of a pre-roll situation going on.
But it's a hover thing though, right? You got to hover over it to see it. But I mean, right now it's all with the big arrow pointing at something,
colored, oversaturated, all that.
Yes, something's exploding in the background. And now that we can mock it, it's time for the trend to move on.
That's true. Yeah, I mean, Mr. Beast is even almost moving away from that too. Like he tests so much of his titles and thumbnails that the fact that he said if he frowns in a thumbnail that it does better. Like,
I'll tell you, it's the faces. People connect with faces. Why is Mr. Beast sad?
Well, I would say that's probably the number one thing that we want to talk about when it comes to franchise marketing is just doing more of getting the people in content.
Yeah.
Get more of the local people, the local community, getting that, in person at events and content. I think that's kind of the crux of what we're talking about.
That would be the big takeaway. Yeah. Find a way to humanize the brand and connect with the community.
Sweet.
Awesome.
That's all I had. Yeah.
This has been great,
else?
Jack.
Yeah.
No,
cool.
no. I feel like I stomped my soapbox into the ground. So
cool.
But this has been great. It's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, it has to for me. Yep.